Hi everyone, I'm James Bell and I'm a musician from Northern England. And today I'm doing my first ever album review and I'm going to be looking at Kate Bush's Never Forever album. This was released in 1980 and it was Kate Bush's third album. And I'm just going to talk about the cover to start with. Now, it's a very interesting cover and it's my favourite. It's one of my favourites. It's my favourite out of Kate Bush's albums, definitely. And it was drawn by Nick Price, and you can see that all these animals are coming out of Kate Bush. And there's a mixture, so we've got like swans and birds and butterflies, but we also have got goblins and bats, and all these sort of dark creatures juxtaposing those. And the title, Kate, because there's no actual track in the album called Never Forever, and Kate says that it's meant to represent that the bad things don't last forever. And I think it's great that here we've got this trail of good and bad animals sort of signifying life. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favourite front covers for an album. Now, this album also represented a lot of firsts for Kate. It was her first album that she was producer for. She produced it alongside John Kelly, who was a recording engineer for her for Lionheart. And it was also the first album that she used a Fairlight CMI, which is a very early digital sampler. Now, sampling is a method used within music production where you record sounds and then you record the sounds, and then you can either pitch them up or down and play it like a musical instrument, or you can loop it. There's lots of things you can do with it, and it's very common now. And this was just a new technique back then, and Fairlight CMI was one of the first machines that was capable of doing such things. As you know, before that it wasn't viable to do that with tape, and digital technology was opening up these whole new avenues of working with music production. On to the tracks now. Now, the first song, Babushka, which is the first single from this album too, is a really playful song about a wife who wants to test her husband to see if he's faithful, and she disguises herself as this babushka, and he ultimately falls for her. And it shows a good use of the Fairlight CMI. It's got what sounds like glass smashing towards the end of the song, and it segues nicely into the second song, which is an instrumental called Delius. And it's just a lovely, laid-back, chilled instrumental, and I really do appreciate instrumentals. A lot of people really underestimate them, but I think they just add so much to an album, a lot of feeling. And I think a lot of musicians shouldn't have to feel that every song needs to have words or whatever. They can express so much with music alone. Blown Away, which is the one after that, commemorates a lot of musicians, Sid Vicious and even Buddy Holly, who had died in an aeroplane accident in the 1950s. And it's just, again, another contrasting song. And all we ever look for is again, it's got such an unusual sound to it, because you've got all these you've got what sounds like a synthesizer, just lots of it's just very unusual sounding. But my favourite feature of it is definitely when you can hear someone walking and opening doors into these different scenes, like seaside, and party and applause. It just, lots of imagery used within the song, which I think is great. But my favourite song from this album has got to be Egypt, just because it's got so much energy in there. and it uses a strumento di poco, which is a zither instrument played by Kate's brother Paddy, and it's just got such a nice sound to it. And I do love zither instruments. If you've heard any of my compositions, I like to use autoharp a lot. On to the second side of the album, the wedding list is all about vendetta and revenge, and again, I think the words on it are just brilliant, brilliant writing from Kate Bush, and she's got a way of writing from a lot of different perspectives of people, and this, you know, with revenge and things, I think it just works out really well. And violin is, you know, crazy mad addition, but utterly brilliant. And I love the violin solos in it. It is crazy but brilliant. And then going through to the album, I think I love Night Scented Stock just because it's another instrumental that gives a reprise of the themes heard earlier from Blow Away, and it just gives a nice feel. You know, I always think, you know, musicians may be a little bit scared to go back and revisit ideas they've used earlier on in an album, and I think it's always a really good idea because I always think it brings the album full circle. And then the album concludes with the last two singles from the last two songs, which were also released as singles, Army Dreamers and Breathing. And Army Dreamers, again, tells the story of someone joining the army and how they were disadvantaged, really, and how they didn't really have a chance in life. And again, I think, you know, Kate's storytelling is just amazing. But the one that just tops it all off, and what a great way to finish, Breathing. I mean, again, point of view, I don't know any other song that writes from the point of view of an unborn child. It's so unusual, so unusual. But it works completely, and the song builds up. It's got so much tension in it, and it builds and builds to this dramatic climax that's just full of hysteria, with people asking, what are we going to do? We're all going to die. And Kate's just almost screaming, breathe. I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing song, and the album concludes. But it's an amazing album, and no wonder it was Kate's first album to get #1 in the charts. And actually, I think it was the first album to get #1 from any female artist in the UK. Could be wrong about that. I'll have to check my facts. But honestly, it's an amazing album. So thank you everyone for listening to this review. I'll be doing another album review next week. In the meantime, I'm hoping to also upload one of my other compositions, Vision in Retrospect, which has visuals attached to these compositions. It's a collection of short compositions, so I hope you enjoy that. And also check out all my other compositions online at the minute. I've got Ballads of the Border and Videotape, which I recorded live at Fruit in Hull, where I'm doing my degree at the minute. So, thank you for listening everyone, and I hope to see you again soon.